I wonder. Mr. G answers a question. Hi guys, welcome to a segment of Mr. G answers a question. So I got lots of questions from you guys. One question I got was, what part of the brain does fear come from, or why do we become afraid? I got that question from a couple of students. So it's important, the two things I really want us to think about are, I talked about that limbic system where our amygdala is, but I want us to think about our senses, right? Our five senses: we can see, we can smell, we can taste, we can hear. And so I'm kind of going to do like a little bit of a thing. Okay, so imagine this marshmallow is the part of your brain called the amygdala. Oh, wait. No, I smell that. Right. We're going to try something different. I'm a little hungry. It's time for an extremely low budget animation. Okay, so we've all got this wonderful brain. Our brain can do amazing things. Oh, it's inside of our head. It's attached to our spine. And inside that part, that base that's attached to our spine, there's the limbic system, and our amygdala is in there. And that's kind of the control center that keeps us alive. And it's what responds to our senses. It sits around and it takes all the sensory input first. Most of the time, the amygdala is just sitting there watching things, and it's sending it to the thinking part of our brain because there's nothing wrong. But once in a while, something scary happens. And that's when everything changes. The amygdala jumps into action and becomes a superhero, and it pushes that thinking part out of the way. But then it can only really do three things: fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. So that's kind of how the inside of our brain has that fear response. Now, the sensory input that our amygdala is constantly going through sometimes is scary. But sometimes what we can do is we can actually visualize. Our brain is pretty amazing. So when we visualize, what we actually can do is we can actually send thoughts or images to our limbic system, and it kind of causes us to panic or fear. And this happens a lot, like if you've ever had a nightmare, or sometimes you just have a scary thought, and that's kind of how our imagination can cause us to become afraid. So in a way, our brain can induce a fear reaction just like a loud noise or something scary that we've seen. So that's kind of where our unhelpful and helpful thoughts come into play. So anyway, I hope that kind of answers your question about where fear comes from or why are we afraid. And again, keep watching, keep giving me your guys' questions, and I hope to see you next time. Herbert Burn. Gun Boom.